All right, everyone. Thanks once again for stopping by the Exit Your Roundtable, or Exit Your Way Roundtable. Here we go. I'll get it out of my mouth. Today with me, I've got Lisa Ryan. Lisa, thanks for stopping by today.
Sure. I think we're going to be talking about all kinds of things. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Buckle in, people.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And I just got to throw a shout out there to Pete Alexander. He's the one, I believe. No, Debbie Peterson.
Debbie Peterson. Yeah.
Introduced us. And then I told Debbie, I had Debbie. And it's so funny because I had Debbie on here on Tuesday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she was telling me about that.
Yeah, I was talking to Debbie, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, Debbie. And she said, yeah, I remember I introduced you to Lisa. Oh, yeah, she's going to be on Thursday. And I said, and I introduced Lisa to Kurt Anderson. And Kurt Anderson and her have been hitting it off and talking about stuff. And I'm like, and we were just talking about how cool it is to be able to meet people and introduce people and really how as sucky as COVID has been, it's given us this opportunity to really, talk to people, meet other people through them and really expand our networks and meet some awesome people.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of feels like you're there, it's like you have these conversations. And I was just talking about StreamYard today, that the technology that we are using would have been like tens of thousands of dollars, just a couple years ago. And here we are in a broadcast studio having a fun conversation, from the comfort of our own computer. So it's pretty darn cool.
It is. And we got Ira Bowman on here. He's another StreamYard experienced StreamYard guy that I know very well. And thanks for stopping by, Ira. You are exactly right. And that's the thing, I get just fired up about it because, there's so many things you can do now with StreamYard and others. And we were trying it today. It wasn't successful, but we were streaming from Remo to LinkedIn Live and Facebook Live with our Thursday event. And we had never tried it before. I had a couple snafus with it, but we know what we need to do now. And that's even cool as well, because we can do, from different platforms through StreamYard to a live feed, which is
cool.
This is going to be something for us that we're going to try a lot to see if that helps us with engagement or if we find new people that way. So this stuff is so much fun. And you doing what you did before the COVID and now what you're doing is, the electronic part just helps you push it out farther.
Yeah. Well, and it's so important to kind of stand above all the noise that's out there, because there's still a lot of, shall we say, really bad Zoom going on. So, when you can just have handle yourself online, make sure you have good background, look at the camera, But it has been a good year, a transition. Like in the spring, all of my events basically picked themselves up and they just moved them to 2021 because nobody thought in the 1,000 years that this would go past like July.
I know.
And then the fall came around and either the events like outright canceled, the bigger events, or a lot of them have just really gotten comfortable to using technology and to having virtual events. And like Remo, I've done a couple of those programs. It's cool. And like I said, just to be able to see all the different technology that's out there and not be afraid to use it, that's the other thing.
Yeah. Well, so you work a lot with different associations. Now, they support a lot of the big industry events and things like that. So what have they been doing to try to, stay in touch with their membership, for lack of better?
Well, it's been tough because for a lot of associations, you think about their annual meeting is their biggest fundraiser for the year. And that's what sets them off to be able to pay all of their expenses. Yeah. So even though this year, if they switched to virtual, they didn't have the hotel bill and the food bill and all of that. But they also had to contend with some people that may not realize that, you pay for virtual events too, and that there's a cost associated with that. And then moving forward, if they go to live and hybrid, then it's two sets of technology, because you need the technology that's going to be able to bring people in from the outside, but then you're still going to have hotel and food and, all of that AV, plus social distancing.
Yeah.
So I've seen everything from some of the larger associations are rife with cash. They're fine. They have sponsors that take care of them. Some of the smaller ones, they're trying to add resources, to do virtual events, to continue to provide value to members. Because what happens if I'm struggling in my business and I got that association membership bill coming up, I have to decide, is this where I'm going to spend my money that I don't have a lot of right now? Or has my association stood by me enough that I see the value and I'm continuing? And that's why I work with my association clients, to help them to find that value, so that when their members are figuring out what they're going to keep and what they're going to get rid of, that they keep that association membership.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that's a heck of a challenge. I know I'm not involved in the local chambers of commerce, but I saw that talking with friends even 4 months ago already, that the chambers were just dying because their chamber memberships were going, the members were going through the same kind of thing, and just they were trying to figure out how to change to virtual when everything is in person.
Right. And I actually just had my very first in-person event on Monday for a Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
And they had, number one, when they first reached out to me to speak there, and they said it was a live event. I'm like, you mean like in person? Because I was so shocked that somebody actually wanted me to speak live. But they were going with two different facilities, and one of the facilities said, no, we're not doing live events. So they went with the restaurant that did. They had 22 people sign up, but only 12 people showed up. And most of them, for the most part, they were pretty good. I think the thing that I was the most afraid of is what happens when somebody reaches out and wants to shake my hand, because we're so prone to that. And of course, at a chamber, that's the first thing they want to do is shake that hand and slip that business card in there.
Yeah.
And, when a couple people reached out and wanted to shake my hand, I'm just like, I'll give you the almost fist bump. But I've said, I'm just not shaking hands right now, which is killing me because I'm an extrovert and a hugger, you know? But it's like right now, you just don't know. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law both had COVID, and I saw him in the hospital for 4 days, and he got a blood clot. So it's a whole Russian roulette thing. And sorry, people, I'm just not taking chances. But I'll tell you what, it was fun to be around people. It was really fun to have that kind of normalcy.
Yeah. No, I'm, what is it now? 18 days out of COVID, or what, since I was exposed, so it didn't hit me that hard. My wife and I didn't have to go to the hospital or anything, but it's nothing to fool with. It really is. I mean, our cases were decidedly mild, but still there were 4 or 5 days in there when I felt like heck.
Right.
And I don't get sick, and my wife is not sick very often either. And it's nothing to fool with, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So your precaution of being careful is, it's normal. It's normal. It's good. I think it's a healthy dose of caution is fine around that this time. And it also helps us to appreciate, as you said, when you can get together with people even more.
Right, exactly. Well, and even things like going out to eat, which, before my husband and I would just be like, I don't feel like cooking, let's go out to eat. But now going out to a restaurant is an event.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, ooh, where are we going to go?
Yeah.
And we want to have a good experience with it too. So, it's even for restaurants, it's even more important to put on your very best party hats when customers come in there, because it's not the way it was before. And you have one bad experience with that restaurant, in times when the choices are when your personal choices are so limiting to begin with, you ain't going back there.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, Cool stuff. Well, let's talk a little bit. You've been speaking to groups for quite a while now, and what really started you? I mean, you got the a BA and MBA and stuff like that, and but what really started you getting into speaking, and what just really said, okay, I really like talking about employee retention and do that. But what really got you into speaking? It's always interesting to me to understand more about that kind of thing.
Well, the interesting thing is I was working as a data entry person in 1987. So I was kind of like the low person on the totem pole. And one of the VPs was offered the opportunity to go to a Dale Carnegie class, and he couldn't, and he didn't want to go, whatever. He backed out at the last minute. So my boss came up to me and she said, would you want to go to this Dale Carnegie class? Honest to God, I didn't even know what a Dale Carnegie class was, but I'm like, sure, I'll go. And it was that program that I just fell in love with speaking, and I wanted to do more of it. So from Dale Carnegie, and then I was a graduate assistant. So I had like 23 weeks of Dale Carnegie in a row because I had missed the first week. I went back to make that first week up, and they asked me to be a graduate assistant. And then from there, I went to Toastmasters, and I was there for years. And then, which is a Toastmasters is a public speaking club, if people do not know what that is. And then I had a 25-year sales career. And as part of what I did in my sales career, I always spoke. I was as the corporate computer trainer when I was in the welding industry. I also would do like oxyacetylene safety seminars and stuff when I was in that industry. And then when I was in healthcare, I would do continuing education classes for nurses and surgical techs on exciting topics: hand hygiene, double gloving, latex allergies, occupational asthma. And then in 2010, when my very lucrative medical sales position was eliminated via group conference call with 12 of us getting canned at the same time, I said, no company will ever do that to me again, complete with finger point. And I started my own business on that day, October 12th, 2010, which, looking back on it, 2010, probably not the best year to start your own business, but I just had my 10-year anniversary. So,
That's awesome.
it's been quite the ride. And I've just always, I spoke as part of what I did for a living. And for the last 10 years, I have made my living from speaking. And then again, with COVID, now I'm pivoting again to figure out what I can do online. So, developing an online course, but more so for the last 3.5 months, I've been working on this 3-day virtual summit and learning a lot about just the technology that's out there and what could be done. And I will tell you what, I put together a super cool event that I'm really excited about.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute, because that's going to be something for people to see. And you're right though, because this, I love hearing you talk about how you've changed, because you're not in front of as many groups right now in person, but you have figured out the technology that allows you to go to a much wider audience and give them a really good experience. And I think that, what are some of the things that, as you've been going through this process, that have kind of surprised you about, well, this will really be something that's even maybe a little cooler than not being there in person?
Oh God, so many things, because the creativity has just been a blast. I think one of the most fun events, and I wasn't even speaking at it, I was just invited to it. But in the summertime, I was invited to a cocktail mixing party, and it was a local company, and they dropped off all the ingredients, including the bourbon and gin, to make a gin gimlet and an old fashioned. And I set up the computer in the backyard, me and my husband. It was Zoom. We had a bartender that explained the history of cocktails as we made these 2 drinks. And the funny thing about cocktails, here's one that you may not know, is that the cocktail itself changed dramatically with the invention of ice. Before that, drinking a cocktail was drinking like a nasty gasoline concoction.
Yeah.
But once they discovered ice and they were able to make the drinks more flavorful and tasty, that's when you really saw the consistency of, like, the gin gimlet is actually one of the very first cocktails. So
Wow.
now you know. So that was fun. But, you know, having those, I've been on Zoom happy hours with my clients. I was speaking at an event the night before. They had a happy hour where they did a dueling piano concert. Wow. Where they were taking requests. So here you have these two people in New York for an event that is all over the country, and we're tuned in and we're making requests. Now, we were singing along, but we were all muted. Thank God. Yeah. I was on the Remo event I was on. They actually had the participants have a t-shirt contest. And so everybody came and I was the judge of the t-shirt because I was their speaker the next day. So it's just been, you know, a pleasant surprise. And the other thing that's been super cool about it is that, you know, before, when travel was involved, I could only do one event in a day in a city. Yeah. Yeah. And I've done 3 events. I mean, I did a lunchtime keynote, I did an afternoon training session, and then I was an MC at a fundraiser all in the same day. So we have a lot more flexibility, but we have things like, you know, making sure that the tech and the work and the lighting and all of that stuff works. Because on that 1-3 day, the most important speaking day of my career during that week, 3 minutes before the end of the first program, my next door neighbor was getting cable, and the cable guy and the internet guy cut my connection, like cut it. So it wasn't coming. That was a Thursday. It wasn't coming back till Tuesday. So the second one, the keynote, I actually did, or the workshop I did using my hotspot, which worked out fine. But for the MC engagement, that was their biggest fundraiser of the year, and I wasn't taking a risk. So I gave my client enough notice, and then I drove about 30 minutes to where the producers were, you know, doing the whole event out of their house. And they just set me up in an emergency station, and I did it out of there. So, you know, the show must go on, you make do. Yes. But it really gives you some cool flexibility that we may not have had in the past. And the other thing too, before I forget, a lot of times I will pre-record the session. You know, and again, like even with my summit, they're all pre-recorded because we do not want to tempt the technology gods. Yeah. But even when the sessions are pre-recorded and then I'm on a live chat, so it's a blast to connect with the audience, you know, and let's be calling them out and say, you know, typing things to them the entire time, where if I'm live on a stage, you know, I can't talk to people and I can't carry on a conversation in the middle of my program. I got stuff to talk about. Yeah. So that's been cool too.
That is. And it's something when we use Remo, we do that a lot. We have multiple people that are with us on stage. You know, we've got someone that's monitoring chat, someone that's moving people on and off the stage. We do a lot of interactive kind of things so that we really can make sure that we're including people, and the things like you said, you can interact with the people that are at the event, and it is so much fun. I mean, we have a ball with the events now. Like you said, you can have the information, people are learning, they're able to interact with the speakers a bit more than they could potentially when we're all sitting like this watching somebody on stage. And so there are some benefits to it. Well, that's cool too. The cocktail party and dueling piano thing is really cool, and the t-shirt contest, I think we need to try that sometime in one of our events, because it would be fun to see that. Well, and I kind of be scared of some of the t-shirts that
they set parameters. You have to set parameters. They were rated, they were, for the most part, I think they were rated PG. But they had to be clean and non-political. So, and I think especially now, the non-political was the big one. And like I said, the one that I chose for the winner, I would have to say it was rated PG because it did have a swear word in it. But when I saw it, it said so it had a martini glass on it, and it had like a dictionary definition, and it said alcohol, noun, the glue that is holding us together during the poop show that 2020 is. I was just like, when something makes me laugh out loud like that, I'm like, why would anybody even compete? Now there were some other ones that were just brilliant. So, and one of the other ones I liked is there was a woman and she just had an orange T-shirt on, and it said laziest period costume period ever period.
Oh,
So,
no, that's great.
yeah, so yeah, they were cute and they made you laugh, and you just saw, because what they did is everybody came on and they had about 30 seconds to promote their T-shirt, to read it and then say something about it. So it made it a little interactive, and it gave you some insight into the person too that you were judging. So I thought it was great.
That is cool. That is cool. And that is one of the another one of the things that these events are doing. And like you said, being able to do more events, the amount of these kind of things we can do, because we're not stuck in a car, in a plane, or whatever, trying to get to these places. We can talk to way more people than we were able to when we were trying to travel to them. That's for sure.
Yep, exactly. And the thing is, it's just to really have fun with it. I think some people are getting all weirded out about there being a camera there, or, if you go into it with the mindset that, oh, this is boring, it's going to be boring. But if you go into it with, hey, I'm just going to go and have fun, and whatever happens, happens, there's a little less forgiveness, on the virtual platform than there is on a live stage, But for the main part, I think that people are coming to the understanding that, life happens and we've become a lot more human.
Yeah.
I can't believe at some point, my cat may decide to come in and, pay a visit during the Zoom calls. And that used to bother me. And I'm like, you know what? If Tinkerbell wants to be in the shot, Tinker is in the shot.
There you go. There you go. I mean, and that you see it with people that have their kids at home. The kids are in the background or come and want to sit on their lap, and it does make it more human. And Alon Zyber, a friend of mine, that he talks about emotional intelligence and about bringing the humanity back into business. And I do think that this has really done that.
Yeah.
And it does make it nice, because, there are challenges that we all have because we're trying to work from home. And if we were forced to be as rigid as we need to be when we're in an office, it'd be really tough for a lot of people. It'd be very tough. And not to mention the fact that I feel for the people that have small children, because when you don't have childcare of any, because they can't go there, and you're going to try to work, and you're going to try to have them go to virtual school while you're there. If you had a first or second or third grader or something like that was trying to go to virtual school, or you're trying to work at home and you didn't have a dedicated office or a place where we could get apart from you. I mean, I just think that's a lot of stress for somebody to try to handle. And, it just is.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing of just as an employer of keeping that in mind. I've been working out of my house since 1997, so I'm totally used to it. Yeah. But for people who aren't, you need boundaries, not only physical boundaries, like I have one of our spare bedrooms is turned into my studio, but, time boundaries. Don't be sending your employees emails at like 3:00 in the morning because you can't sleep. Because particularly if they're remote, their brains are saying, oh no, I have to be on 24/7, and they need to step away, or else you're going to have a whole group of employees that are suffering from total burnout, and you're not going to get the best work from them. But that's a whole nother soapbox.
Well, that's funny. That's funny you said that, though, because one of the things I started doing is, because I do struggle with sleep. I mean, so if I wake up really, really early, I delay the delivery of my email to a more reasonable time of the day, because it is you can't expect people to be on all the time, and they shouldn't be. Right. But, so we were going to talk about keeping your best talent. This is something that you talk a lot about. So now you got manufacturers now, and you talk with a lot of manufacturers. That's your niche. That's where you jam and have a good time. What are all these manufacturers doing now when they're essential businesses? They have to keep going, and you're trying to recruit and retain talent and this whole kind of thing. What are some of the big challenges that they're running into?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a mess right now because
Yeah.
you have to do so many things as far as making sure that your employees are safe, with the proper PPE, but also making sure that they feel safe, meaning that you're enforcing that PPE.
Yeah.
Because there's this percentage of people, and you know it, that still think that this whole thing is a hoax. I don't know anybody who's ever had COVID, so it can't be real, type of thing. And they don't want to wear a mask. They think that masks are stupid. Masks don't work, all of this kind of stuff. But if we look at it from the standpoint of respect, of just respect, creating an environment where people feel comfortable, that people are being held accountable, because having an engaged team doesn't necessarily mean a happy, joy, everything that you do is fantastic. It's holding people accountable for a standard that has respect, that has accountability, and that keeps in mind that you don't know, what that employee is dealing with at home. Maybe they have, maybe parents, all of these different things that we as employers don't know. And it's tough enough, even with unemployment at a record high right now. You're still seeing, we're still needing to keep our best people, because you're still going to have millions of jobs in manufacturing that are going unfilled. Why? Yeah. Because all these parents are telling their kids that they need to go to college and they need to get a white collar job, where what we should be doing is saying, go to welding school, for goodness sake. You can make hundreds of thousands of dollars as a welder, and trade and tech. But for some reason in our minds, we see those blue collar essential position as lower positions than a 4-year white collar college degree. And like when I was in the welding industry, it really was. It was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And it was everything that your mother ever warned you about when it came to, the manufacturing plants. Now, the plants that I tour, holy cow, they're clean, they're modern, they're bright, they have the technology. So everything has changed. And the thing that's different too about that is that it doesn't come necessarily with the stress of that white collar office job where you're always on. You do your job, you make a product, you see the results of your accomplishment, what you did for the day, and then you go home and you have a life. So it's a fantastic way to make a really good living, and we need to change that conversation.
100%. I mean, that, at least I'm starting to see more people that are talking about that. And it is in my experience, the most successful people I know didn't necessarily take the white collar route and many don't, because when you look at, like you said, here, in 2019, and I hadn't seen any just because it wasn't out that much this year, but electricians, plumbers, I mean, they on signs on the street, journeyman electricians, $50 an hour starting.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. You tell me if you can even start as a lawyer at $50 an hour in places. I don't think you can. I think that's $60,000, $70,000 starting wage. So tell me why you shouldn't go to welding.
Exactly. Yeah.
Go to welding school, because you can't make up $30,000, $40,000. Maybe you can 10 years down the road, but you're going to go a long ways farther than that when that's a starting wage for you as an electrician, 2 years into it when you were
right.
And I 100%, I've seen so many people that have not thought about going in, getting a technical degree and things like industrial automation,
right?
Or things like that, where they are I mean, you're literally wearing lab coats kind of thing, walking around, working on the instrumentation and electronics and programming and all this stuff. And the robotics and things now that are required in manufacturing. I was just talking to a friend in Tennessee this week or last week that is in a company where I used to work. And they have the human assist robots now, and he was telling me about them and how those things are really taking over the factories, in that people do part of the work and the robots know and work right around them. If they bump into them, it's really some incredible technology that's filtering its way into these manufacturing plants because of the labor shortage,
right?
And to eliminate a lot of the repetitive motion injuries.
Yeah.
And these things are the technology. My point is, I get around to it, is the technology is phenomenal. And these, you can go to college for 4 years and you can come out and you can get a job for half the money that you would if you went into a 1 year or 2 year technical school and learned one of these other skills.
Well, and you think about it, how many tens of thousands of dollars are you in debt when you come out with that 4-year degree versus going 6 months or a year or whatever to a trade or technical school, and then you're coming out immediately at $20 an hour or whatever it is, $30 an hour, 6 months later, and those debts, you are debt free, in a long shot in 3 to 5 years. Depending on the school that you go to and the trade that you go into. So it's just, and again, a lot of it comes from the parents of just having those conversations and the guidance counselors at school too. There are some kids that aren't cut out for college. That's not what they do. They want to work with their hands. Back in our day, there was wood shop and metal shop and these things. But if you think back on it, who were the kids that were in those classes? They were like the problem children. And I think that parents still kind of have that image versus, no, these are the people we need. These are the essential workers that are going to be able to make a great living, great benefits, great hours, because they're going to be able to have a life.
Yes. And that is, and I hadn't thought about that in a while, but you are exactly right. If you are a welder in a factory, and yes, you're going to go there and weld every day, but when the clock starts, you start work. When the clock stops, you stop work.
Yep, exactly. When you leave work, man, you leave work.
Yeah, that's worth a lot. That's worth a lot. That's for sure. But it is interesting because how has it changed the recruiting process and stuff? Have you seen, I mean, it's gotta, and are people not coming to, are you hearing that people they're, because of the whole thing when you're talking about, I've got some, maybe some people at home that are high risk people, are they seeing that people can't come to work or afraid to come to work? And then are you not able to fill jobs more too, because you can't get people maybe to move or whatever to get them? Or what are some of the things you're hearing?
It's all across the board, but the important thing is that to really focus on that employee experience, to connect with that employee when you offer them the job before they come in, before day one. Maybe you send them a video email. Hey, I'm really looking forward to you starting. Maybe you send them a welcome gift basket from stuff that you've gotten from your vendors or company swag or something. So you're building that connection. Because I can't tell you how many of my clients or how many of the people in my audiences too are saying, Lisa, we hire people and then they don't even show up to work. Or they come for half a day and then they ghost us at lunch. And it's like, that's because you didn't think this. They showed up. The receptionist was like, oh, I didn't know that you were supposed to start today. Or you go have them sit for half a day in a basement filling out paperwork. Who wants to do that? If you start to think about that first day experience, what is it? Because a lot of times with blue collar hourly workers, companies don't think about them. It's a sad fact. And if you can make that blue collar person's day, brighter by sharing that you really care, that you expected them to be there, that you're giving them some swag, that they know you're going to take care of them. You have a lunch buddy. They get to go out to lunch for free on their first day of job with somebody who likes their job. They're going to be thinking, no employer has ever treated me like this before. You know what? Maybe I'm going to give this place a chance for once instead of ghosting them like I did the last 3 jobs that I took. So it's that connection also with the use of social media, because your potential employees are going on YouTube, they're going on Instagram, they're seeing what is out there about your company. And is it a bunch of corporate mumbo jumbo, I don't want to say old white guys in your videos, or are there videos that actually look like the people who work for you? And they say, I see myself there.
Yep.
So it's completely different today. So, and if people are still thinking, that this is your grandfather's factory, sorry, dude, not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the things that I think people have to put out of their mind is it's not the dirty place that it once was. And it's just not. It's not for a lot of reasons. But this is something that comes up over and over, is this employee experience, and it is across industries, it's across businesses, and something that if business people are not thinking about it now, it's going to cost them a ton of money. And I'm helping a company right now that they're doing a redesign of their website, and I asked, so what are you doing to your employee page? I ain't even thought about it yet.
Yeah. It's the last thing they think about, man.
And it was just like you said, they had not thought about the fact that those prospective employees are going to look at your website and look at your employee page, and they're going to care about what you do with the employees, how you support your communities you're in, and anything else that you can share with them about why it's a great place to work. As you said, people talking about working there.
Right. And don't work there. Yeah. And don't be going and getting some clip art piece of photo that has, 2 men, 2 women representing 4 different races. Yeah. Your clip art should come from your factory floor. Yeah. Go out and take pictures of people who are already working there. Interview people who are already working there. Show what a day in the life is. Show the real picture. Because the thing is, the funniest response I ever got for one of my audience members was like, Lisa, if I show them what a day in the life is working at this plant, nobody would ever work here. I'm like, okay, well, number 1, you got to change that. But number 2, wouldn't it be nice to be able to show people the real story so they know that what they're getting into, and you're attracting the type of people. Maybe it takes you a little bit longer to find them, but you're actually finding people that are saying, you know what, that looks pretty cool. That looks like a challenge. I like getting dirty, whatever it is, but you're not surprising them and then wondering why they didn't show up again after lunch.
Yeah. Well, and not wasted their time or your time, but that's a great example too. And you're buying them lunch the first day. That's so awesome. I mean,
what's it going to cost you? $20, really? I mean, it's Subway.
It costs nothing in comparison, because it is. People just don't even come from the interview. You've got a job offer. Oh, great. See you tomorrow. They don't even show up sometimes to, and especially if there's someone that you really wanted to hire. I mean, it just makes so much sense to do these kind of things. That's great. So what are some of the real cutting edge things you're seeing people do that help to keep that best people that they want to have in those businesses?
Oh man, there's so many. I was working with a textile manufacturer, and they actually brought in a dream manager that they were working with. And this was, and with the people in the shop, like there was one person, one guy in the shop who took that, who is that financial guy? financial university, Dave Ramsey.
Okay.
So he took a Dave Ramsey class and he wanted to teach that. So the company paid for him to take the Dave Ramsey class, and then he was their online financial or their person who came in and taught the rest of the people in the plant, those things. So they utilized their own people for trainers. There was a woman in the same plant that she liked baking pies. And so they helped her create a pie making business. So like Thanksgiving and all the holidays and stuff, the employees knew where to go for it.
Yeah.
But they gave people opportunities that weren't just work related. They gave them opportunities that looked at them as a whole person. And when people feel that level of connection that, wow, my employer must really care about me, they didn't need to be the highest paying employer in the area, but their turnover was so low because their employees truly felt like they cared about them.
Yeah.
Another one, a fastener plant, the CEO went and he actually had one-on-ones at all 6 plants. It took him, months to do this, but he had one-on-one meetings with the employees there, or group meetings. I forget how he worked the statistics. And because he really wanted to find out what they wanted, how he could help them. And the first round, people didn't trust him. They were like, they were kind of sharing exactly what they thought he wanted to hear. And then he actually took action on the ideas and suggestions, and the employees are like, maybe we can trust him. And the next time it got a little bit easier. And the next time, and now Manny does this on a regular basis where he goes and he talks to his people and they actually share with him their real thoughts, their real ideas. He's not the emperor walking around without clothes on, because they are not telling him just what he wants to hear. They're telling him what he needs to hear. And better yet, he's listening and he's acting on their suggestions. And again, taking that turnover and brought it way down because people like being heard.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's one of the things that I miss so much from not running manufacturing companies anymore, is that being able to interact with the people that are actually making the stuff and doing the things and talking with them, and then getting their ideas and getting the engineers, the technicians, other people that are working in a department, whatever, and just say, hey, this is a great idea. Let's figure out how to use it. And just step them back.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, one other cool idea that just popped into my head, because you asked about new tech, and it doesn't have, actually low tech works even better because it takes less money and less time to do. But this was a spring manufacturer. And what they would do is they would take a part of the week. So they would just take, one of the springs that they were manufacturing and make a poster of it and put it on the wall explaining where that spring went. So that person on the line who thinks, oh, I'm doing all day is making springs, getting repetitive injury, whatever. But now he's saying, you know what? I am making a part that goes into an airplane. I'm making a part that goes here. So you're connecting with employees and letting them know that they are part of this bigger mission than just, I make springs.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's really cool, because a lot of that stuff does go into things that if you looked at it, you go, oh, whatever, and it's not always obvious. It's not always obvious. That's for sure. Very cool. Yeah. I even think back to that stuff. I mean, one of the companies that I was involved with, we made the wheels for one of the Mars rovers. We made
wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it was a specialty machining company, and the wheels are about, I don't know, 8 inches in diameter, out of aluminum. They weigh next to nothing, but they started as aluminum billet, X-ray and all that good stuff to make sure. And then I was able, when they were still producing the F-22s, we made some of the things that held the wings on.
Oh,
so
wow. That's important.
Yeah, kind of. But you think about that, and you think back to those things, and even it sticks out in your mind. I can see how it makes a real difference for the people working in those places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
those are some great ideas. And it's just like you said, none of this stuff that you talked about costs a ton of money. It's talking about treating people like people, and looking at the whole person, and making them feel welcome and cared for.
Right, exactly. So it's a little, it's more thought than money is the investment. Is
Yeah.
just being willing to be creative, being willing to be vulnerable, being willing to ask your employees what they want, which you think is a really scary thing to do, but what you'll often find out is that your employees want a lot less than you think
Yeah.
that they do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, hey, I'd like to have cold water when it's hot outside.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do
Mhm.
that.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
kind of things that you usually come up, and you go, it's not like, hey, we want, we want wages or strike or whatever the other things you can say, you can think that would be horrible. It's usually just the things that we should have been doing and probably forgot about.
Right, exactly. Yep.
And it's good stuff. So, well, Lisa, it's so awesome to talk to you. Before we finish up though, you've got the Employee Retention Summit for Manufacturers coming up. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's November 9th to the 11th. It's a free event. I have 25 rock star manufacturing and retention experts that are joining me. It's 24 programs. One of the CA Lawton, which is a foundry, I have both their sales manager and their HR director. So we get to see company culture from both sides of that scale. But
Very cool.
it's just like me and you are doing today. There's no death by PowerPoint. We're just having about 25 to 30-minute conversation, sharing the best tips, tools, and strategies to keep your top talent from becoming someone else's.
Yeah.
And you can just go to, and you have to put the www in front of it or it doesn't work, but www.employeeretentionsummit.com. And you can get your free ticket there. But I'm so excited about it. And again, it's nice. One of the gifts of COVID is that as many hundreds of hours as I have put into the planning of this in the last 3.5 months, if I was working my normal speaking schedule, I would not have the time to do this. So I'm super excited about it. Yeah, it's just a great lineup, and we're a week and a half out. So woohoo!
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So if someone's listening and you're in manufacturing, the Employee Retention Summit for Manufacturers, go to www.employeeretentionsummit.com, sign up. Like I said, it's 25 speakers. That's quite a lineup you put together there.
Yeah, and it's everybody from I have Alan Bolio, who is a renowned economist. I have Sam Silverstein, who's known for accountability. I have Jessica Young, who's a woman in her 30s who bought a manufacturing company and has completely changed the culture. Rue Patel was with General Mills for 30 years as a plant manager, and he talks about their company culture. And then we have some personal development, like Maureen Zappala talking about imposter syndrome, and MJ Calloway talking about, resilience. So I tried to have this nice blend where it all ties back to employee retention, but we're looking at it from both that personal connection and that business connection. So it's just, like I said, I'm really excited about it. So I hope you can join us.
That's awesome. And we're going to definitely visit as much as we can those 2 days. But Lisa, thank you so much for stopping by. It's been awesome to talk to you and learn a little bit more about how you're helping manufacturers with their retention, keeping their top talent, and the Employee Retention Summit that you're going to have November 9th through the 11th. Just thanks for stopping by. It's been a great conversation, and I'm just so grateful to have you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Well, everyone else, we are going to sign out. Have a great day. Thank you.